Skylar, a 31-year-old wife and mother, has been married to her husband Rowan for 2 years. Their relationship began as a shotgun marriage, meaning they got married after discovering Skylar was pregnant with their daughter, who is now 2 years old. Despite the unconventional start, they seem to live a happy life as a family. Skylar took full maternity leave to focus on raising their daughter, and Rowan was a loving father who enjoyed spending time with their child after work. Life felt harmonious until Rowan proposed that they move in with his parents. One evening, Rowan informed Skylar that his parents wanted them to move in with them. Skylar was initially surprised by the suggestion, as Rowan's parents weren't elderly or in need of care. However, Rowan explained that as the eldest son, it was expected that he would live with his parents, and now that their daughter was older, he felt the time was right. He added that his mother could help Skylar with housework, making life easier for her. Skylar, who had no negative opinion of her in-laws and thought they cared deeply for her daughter, agreed to the move, despite her initial hesitations. However, after moving in, things began to deteriorate. At first, Rowan's parents seemed polite and respectful, but over time, their attitudes towards Skylar changed dramatically. It began with small criticisms. One day, her mother-in-law asked if they could have dinner earlier, despite knowing that Skylar worked part-time and had to pick up their daughter from daycare before preparing dinner. When Skylar explained her schedule, her mother-in-law bluntly suggested that Skylar should come home earlier from work. Skylar, taken aback, tried to explain that her job was important, but her mother-in-law dismissed her response, criticizing her work as half-hearted. Skylar felt increasingly pressured, as her part-time job and housework already filled her days. She typically finished work at 4 p.m., picked up her daughter, went grocery shopping, and prepared dinner by 6 p.m., which didn't seem particularly late. Yet her in-laws seemed to find fault with her every effort. Her father-in-law, who didn't help with household chores, complained that she hadn't cleaned the bathroom yet, even though she was focused on preparing dinner. When she tried to calmly explain her schedule, he snapped, accusing her of being slow and useless. Confused and hurt, Skylar spoke to Rowan about his parents' behavior. Instead of offering support, Rowan brushed off her concerns, suggesting that maybe they just wanted her to become a better wife. He even smiled, as if the issue wasn't serious. Skylar felt betrayed by her husband's indifference and began to question her feelings for him. As time passed, her in-laws' demands became more unreasonable. One evening, her mother-in-law demanded a massage while Skylar was still washing the dishes. When she tried to explain that she wasn't finished, her mother-in-law snapped at her to hurry up. Meanwhile, her father-in-law became angry when his favorite cup hadn't been washed yet, calling her useless again. Skylar couldn't understand why they treated her this way, but her confusion turned to frustration and sadness. Skylar once again turned to Rowan, asking him to speak with his parents about their behavior. Although he initially resisted, calling it too much trouble, he finally agreed to talk to them. After the conversation, Skylar eagerly asked Rowan what his parents had said. His answer shocked her. Rowan nonchalantly told Skylar that his parents believe part-time workers don't have human rights. This left Skylar speechless. Rowan then explained that his parents didn't like the fact that Skylar worked part-time instead of full-time. But Skylar had taken the part-time job at Rowan's request. He had asked her to work fewer hours so she could manage both housework and raising their child. She demanded to know if he had explained this to his parents, but Rowan claimed he didn't think their attitude was based on that misunderstanding. Skylar was devastated. Her in-laws clearly looked down on her for working part-time, even though it was her husband's idea in the first place. Worse, Rowan seemed uninterested in defending her or setting the record straight with his parents. The marriage, once seemingly happy, was now crumbling under the weight of her in-laws' relentless criticism and Rowan's refusal to stand by her. Skylar began to realize that she may have been wrong to marry Rowan, as he had failed to support her when she needed him the most. The emotional strain of living with her in-laws, combined with her husband's indifference, left Skylar feeling isolated and overwhelmed. The once happy family life she cherished had been replaced by constant stress and unhappiness. Skylar's in-laws treated her like a servant in her own home, while her husband stood by, unwilling to intervene or protect her from their cruelty. As Skylar grappled with the harsh reality of her situation, she began to wonder what the future held for her and whether she could continue living in such a toxic environment. He said, looking away, "It's impossible. I really don't understand why I married him. He might have already abandoned me. I even considered divorce almost immediately. I've stayed in this marriage for the sake of my daughter. She needs a father." But then one day, I witnessed something terrible. It was a weekend, and I was out grocery shopping. When I returned home, I saw my mother-in-law sitting in the living room with my daughter. She suddenly said something completely shocking to my daughter. She told her, "Oh, if you were a boy, I would have been happier. Why did it have to be a girl? It's such a shame." I couldn't believe my ears. Could she really be saying this to a 3-year-old child? I immediately intervened, saying, "Mother, please don't speak to my daughter like that." She looked startled and replied, "Oh, I didn't know you were home. Please, retract what you just said." I demanded, "No, why should I retract it? What you've said is unacceptable." She insisted, "She won't understand what I said. You're overreacting." I argued, "It's not about what she understands. It's about what you're teaching her. I won't let you harass my daughter." My mother-in-law retorted, "Harass you? When have I ever harassed you? Are you pretending you don't know? If you're not aware, you have a very twisted character." I responded angrily, "You don't even know what you're talking about." My mother-in-law snapped, "A housekeeper?" And I could feel her anger rising. I asked, perplexed, "A housekeeper?" She answered sharply, "That's right. You're just a housekeeper in this house." During our argument, my father-in-law came into the room, annoyed by the noise. He grumbled, "I can't even read the paper. What's going on here?" My mother-in-law quickly pointed at me and said, "She's trying to start a fight with me." He replied disinterestedly, "She's got a lot of nerve for a housekeeper." I was stunned by what I was hearing. "So you both call me a housekeeper behind my back? You're really something else." I accused them. "Screw you. I don't deserve to be belittled by someone who only works part-time." My father-in-law snapped back, "You don't make much money, so you have to manage the house as a housekeeper. You don't get to challenge your mother-in-law. You're worse than a housekeeper. You should leave already. You got pregnant just to secure our son's money, so he wouldn't leave. That's what a woman of bad character like you would do. We won't have any problems without you." My mother-in-law concluded, "That's right. We're better off without you." I stood firm and said, "Say whatever you want. That's enough. You all need a reality check." I decided at that moment to pack my bags and leave the house with my daughter. Just then, my husband came back from fishing and saw me with a large suitcase. He asked, confused, "Skylar, what are you doing with such a big suitcase?" I replied coldly, "I've been fired as a housekeeper." He asked in shock, "What? What do you mean?" His face went pale as I said, "I won't be coming back to this house anymore. Good luck on your own." I pushed past him as my mother-in-law sneered and said, "Well, now my son's earnings won't be exploited." Seeing my husband's pale face and lack of response, I was done. I took my daughter and went to my parents' house. The next day, my mother-in-law called, her tone suddenly soft. "Hello. Do you still want something from me?" I asked irritably. She replied, "Oh, Skylar, I'm sorry for the terrible things I said yesterday." I was suspicious and asked, "What happened all of a sudden?" She pleaded, "I apologize. Please come back." I told her firmly, "No, you don't really need me to come back." "I didn't know you were contributing money to the house," she said, her voice trembling. I explained, "I was giving you $1,000 a month from my salary. Even though I work part-time, I'm a nurse and earn a decent amount. My husband's full-time job doesn't pay well, so most of his salary goes to living expenses. That's why I was contributing. We were also saving for our daughter's future. My husband is kind, but his low self-esteem makes him vain. He couldn't admit his income was low, and that I was financially supporting us. When he failed to stand up for me, it was over. I told my mother-in-law I wouldn't return no matter what she said, and hung up. I then informed my husband through a message that we would communicate through my lawyer from now on and blocked all his and my in-laws' numbers. I decided to file for divorce, requesting child support and alimony for their ongoing harassment. My ex-husband is now nearly penniless due to the payments, and his in-laws' lavish lifestyle has rapidly depleted their savings. They've even started relying on my father-in-law's retirement fund, which may not last long. While it's no longer my concern, I feel they've received what they deserve. My ex-husband frequently asks me for help when he sees our daughter, but I warned him that if he keeps bringing it up, I won't let him see her anymore. He stopped asking for help. Meanwhile, I've returned to my parents' home and am working hard as a single mother. My mother helps with my daughter, so I can work night shifts and increase my income. I'm committed to working hard and providing for my daughter while watching her grow up. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this story. See you in the next video.